Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about 5 mental health myths that absolutely just drive me completely nuts. Try saying that 5 times fast. Bet you can't. Okay, so 5 things that absolutely drive me nuts. Keep in mind, not the only ones out there, but this is what I could think of when I was thinking about doing this video. Okay, so myth number 1. Only people without friends should go to therapy. This absolutely makes no sense to me. As a therapist, I think really everyone could benefit from therapy. Yeah, I'm a little biased, whatever. But if you don't have friends, yeah, do you need to go to therapy? Maybe. But if you do have friends, you even probably should go to a therapist more, because the chances are is that you're using your friends as a therapist, and that's really not what they're there for. Having a friend is a two-way street, and so there's always an exchange. There's always a give and take, per se, about your friendship. And whenever you go to your friend and you're constantly bombarding them and saying, oh, this is what's going on with my relationship, or this is what's going on, and this, then you become a little overwhelming to your friends, and then you may not, something may happen. And I am not saying this in a joking way at all. I know a lot of adults, and I've had conversations with people lately who've struggled with friendships. And so I do not mean light by this at all, but I really, really, really do think that a lot of situations are from people who use their friends as therapists, and that it just really kind of deteriorates the relationship there. Okay, so myth number 2. Here we go. Having a mental illness or mental condition means that you are crazy. What the crap? No, that is not true. I really hate, despise, whatever word you want to put here, when people misuse the word crazy. I just really, it is one of my pet peeves. I just don't like it. I'm sure you can tell right now, right? Okay, so I'm good. And so having a mental illness or a mental condition doesn't mean necessarily you're crazy. I really just don't like the word crazy. And so I'm going to just rant for a minute. The word crazy is so judgmental. Why do you have to be so judgmental? Because people have different situations. People have different things that they deal with, and people have different coping mechanisms. And just because somebody else's coping mechanism is different, or just because somebody else's story is different, doesn't mean that they're crazy. Crazy is a term so that you don't have to try to understand what's going on with that person. And so you don't even have to even have empathy for that person. So you just label somebody as crazy, and then, oh, well, they're just crazy. Crazy person. I don't want to deal with them. Rant over. Sorry. Apologize. But it really does grind my gears. Okay, so not true at all. I've seen so many people with different issues and different things, and it doesn't mean that a person's crazy. It just means that, hey, they need a little bit of help, and they're coming to therapy just to kind of get some ideas and ways to cope through some of this stuff. Just because you're struggling with something doesn't mean you're crazy. It means that you're human. Maybe we're all a little crazy. I don't know, but this is a complete myth. I don't really feel like I have to explain this one a whole lot. Okay, so myth number 3. Mental health issues are uncommon. Not true. The WHO actually released some information quite a few years ago suggesting that 1 in 4 people struggle with some sort of mental illness. The statistics are a little harder on this one, but I think that number is relatively accurate for the most part. And even now, even since COVID, I think that's even worse, considering that people are just really broken, hurting, and struggling to understand what's going on. Just how to relate, and just, having hope for the future. It's really a big struggle. And so I would even say, and this is a guess, right? I can't back this up, but I'd say like 1 in 3 people, would have some sort of something that they're dealing with that would be classified as a mental health condition. Okay. So myth number 4, I'm weak if I can't handle my own mental problems. No. I hear this a lot too, and especially with guys, and it is another thing that just kind of grinds my gears, right? Drives me nuts, whatever you want to call it. I really do think that it's important to acknowledge whenever you're struggling, people are out there to help you. And I know that, sometimes it's really difficult to ask for help, to want the help. And it's, you really want to do this on your own, but we're really not meant to do life alone. I mean, I get it. I'm also an introvert by nature. And so I'm one of those people that don't necessarily enjoy being around a ton of people all the time. That being said, I do recognize that you need people to thrive. You can survive on your own, but is it going to be something that really does make a difference and gives you the life that you want to live? I don't know. That's a question for you to ask yourself. But if you're struggling with this thought, I really encourage you. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's a sign of strength. You will get the encouragement that you need. You will get the tools that you need. You will get the atmosphere that you need to change. You'll be able to connect with people to help you along the journey. And it's just so rewarding. So obviously this is a myth. It's not a sign of weakness, and you may not agree with it being a sign of strength, but it's definitely not a weakness. It's just where you are, and this is where you are. You have to acknowledge where you are and just continue to strive for the best and move forward. Okay, so myth number 5, mental health issues or mental health problems are purely genetic/biological in nature. Not true. I see this often, that people will really struggle with things based on their environment, childhood, whatnot. And I'm going to tag into this because this is another myth, is that in therapy we always work on childhood. Granted, look, I do work on childhood stuff a lot, but it's not the go-to. You want to work with somebody to get them to a place where they are functional. And sometimes you have to look at the past, but it's not always about digging up the past, right? There's different strategies, there's methods, different therapeutic techniques. And so it really just depends on what you're doing with your therapist, right, to work through that stuff. But it's not always about digging up the childhood. But, okay, going back, it doesn't mean that it's genetic or biological. Maybe there are some things, and there are some things such as schizophrenia that you're more prone to getting, in your life based off of the nature argument, but the nurture is so important. And so your environmental, stuff is going to make a huge difference here. So if you grew up in an abused home, if you grew up where you didn't have parents, all of those things really do make a difference in shaping who you are, and kind of, lend itself to struggles. So I was also abused as a kid, all the way around, physically, sexually, all of it. And so that shapes who you are, and it's not something that I was born with, right? But it did cause a lot of issues. And so it's something to consider, that it's not just a genetic thing. It is also an environmental thing. Now, I will say on the flip side, it's not only just an environmental thing either. You do have to look at the genetics and what you're predisposition to. So, like when I'm doing a new client intake, right, with a new client, I want to get a background history. I'm looking at, any kind of family mental illness going on. Because that stuff's important to look at, because a lot of times you do see that things tend to run in families. But the question is that purely genetic? No, I don't think it's purely genetic. No. To what degree? Not sure. But, it's just one of those things that you have to look at both sides. There's two sides to a coin, So anyway, myths are out there for sure, and these are just 5. There's tons more. You can jot some down and go look on the internet, whatever you want to do. I have plenty more that I could sit here and talk to you guys for another hour or so, but I just felt like this was a interesting and fun video to do, while also being very informative and just real, because a lot of it is definitely something that frustrates me. These 5 things definitely frustrate me to some degree. But also it's, it is what it is. And so you have to recognize that these are myths, and that these are things that people need to change. So I hope that you got something out of this video. Please click that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one.